Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer. It's day 1 of the official launch, and some of us, maybe when you're playing through the game and you got this through your pre-registration rewards, you might be thinking of like leveling it up, and a lot of us might actually be looking at using like these 3-star fodder to upgrade your 4-star Lightcones. And I just want to make a quick note in terms of those that I would recommend you not actually like dump in like that into a 4-star equivalent. And let's talk real quick in terms of what are the ones that I would actually keep at least one spare copy of. Of course, here we have all 21 3-star Lightcones already from the regular banner. In the long run, like if you stretch out like many months in, you want to keep one of each at the maximum superimposed level going forward. But right now, when we are like strapped off resources, not everyone has a lot of resources to build like every single thing, especially when you go up to like level 30, level 40 and stuff, you start to see that the cost definitely increases very significantly in terms of a strain on your resources. And the most important one, like if you just want to know one and dump the rest, the most important one is this Chorus Lightcone, and especially since it can also be used with the free-to-play S-Star in the same team. What this does at Superimpose 5, it gives an attack buff to your entire party by 12%. You can't stack, so doesn't mean like you run Tingyun, Bronya, and S-Star, you can't have like triple of the effects. So this is very, very strong because it gives like a passive buff to the whole team that is unconditional as well the moment you enter the battle, and it doesn't even give a turn limit as well. This is very solid in the early game because you don't even have to level this Lightcone up and you still get the maximum value of it. Placed on a unit like Asta, who doesn't really need the huge attack and defensive stats, I think is very, very solid to invest in for a Lightcone that is 3 stars, and you might want to use it for at least up to the mid game. Even some late game accounts might even consider running this one as well if you wanted to. And other than that, I think the rest of them are relatively more situational, and I will talk a bit in terms of what are the situations that you want to keep them. This defense Lightcone, they are generally going to be much better 4-star Lightcones for preservation units. I'm just keeping this because I want to use the HP restoration for a free-to-play, like something like a Pokemon Nuzlocke kind of challenge where I'm giving myself. I want to challenge myself by only using the free-to-play units, and this is one of the ways I'm going to actually tackle the content in terms of like a Honkai Star Rail Nuzlocke, so to speak, for free-to-play units. So, but for most of other people, this is not as important. They are much better 4-star Lightcones. And of course, arrows is pretty decent early on, but the moment you get, for example, other Lightcones that give you a bit more crit or even attack scaling, for example, you see here only silence remains. Once you get Lightcones that are 4 stars, you definitely want to shift a lot of your DPS if you are using arrows for Danheng towards a 4-star Lightcone. And the reason for that is because of the stat scaling on 3-star Lightcones versus 4-star Lightcones are already tremendously very different already. Let's just look, for example, this adversarial one, right? We have 16 attack as well as 12 defense, and we just look at the 4-star Hun equivalent. It's like 16 and 12 is already like much weaker compared to the 4-star at level 1, and this difference just stretches on as we go towards like level 20, level 30 and so on and so forth. So DPS you want to shift to 4 stars. Supports you don't mind running 3 stars because it gives, especially if the effects are very, very strong supportive effects like Chorus, for example. So that's arrows, in my opinion. Good crit rate for Danheng in the early game, but once you get a better one, it's good to migrate as well. Other than that, I only think that the other one that maybe some of you might want to consider, and maybe 2 more, would be this Fine Fruit gear that we see here. In terms of when you start the battle, you immediately restore 12 energy. This is good, especially if you're running through, for example, just like clearing your daily energy and you want to run autoplay everything. This is very strong because by every time you start a new match, Natasha just gets a bit of energy as well, and then you can just like cycle through all the content and you can steamroll most of the content pretty easily on auto battle when you go and take a breakfast, lunch break, or drink a coffee break or something like that. Very, very effective. You can just keep one in your inventory at level 1, and this substat would definitely give you a bit of value already on its own. And the only other few ones that I consider using is like this mediation one if you need a little bit of speed. I don't think it's as useful as Chorus, of course, because they are both Harmony. This Harmony one is also very good. A lot of Harmony Lightcones are very strong. As you can see here, it's also pretty situational. Depends on what you are using. I think these are mainly more for like Tingyun, whereas Esta would really like Chorus a lot more since she already gives a lot of that flat speed buffing to the entire team. This is giving you like a bit more energy recharge for her to keep the uptime if you're interested in that aspect, and maybe you don't want that the 12% attack buff to the whole team. It's hard to argue against this one, to be really honest. And other than that, I don't think that anything else is going to be pretty useful. It increases effect hit rate, some of them. There's one that increases hit rate. I think it's this black hole one. Yeah, increases the effect hit rate. This is good for like Pella and stuff like that, especially early on. So if you have Pella, you might want to consider just running her with this one if you're just using her as a defense buffer type unit as well. And other than that, I don't see any significant value. This will be similar, for example, to this one here. But I think Ultimate is a lot easier to cast compared to Weakness Breaking. And I would definitely keep at least one copy of this Cornucopia. This 24% outgoing healing is pretty useful whenever they use a skill or Ultimate. Very good early on for Natasha. You can just leave it at level 1 if you don't intend to level it up. But of course, Natasha scales with HP, so you definitely want to migrate her to like something more stronger if you get it, because 4-star Lightcones of course give more stats as well. And if you like such content, I'll be making a more in-depth guide in terms of like the 4-star Lightcones and build guides on the channel once I get my characters up to a bit more reputable level as well. And then I'll make these guides for you guys. So like and subscribe if you want to see more of such future content. I've done a lot of team composition guide videos on the channel already, so do check it out too. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.